Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the special edition episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL, and man, do we have a lot to cover. This show originally, it changed on the drop of a leak. And I know that it's been making the rounds. A lot of people like Archimedes and D Black Raven have sent me information regarding this 4chan leak. And to be honest with you, the show that I originally wrote for today, which is packed with all original content, I spent hours writing it. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about everything that I wrote about on this upcoming Thursday's regular edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. We are going to be dealing strictly in this leak, and the reason why I want to use the entire show for it is because I have a panel that has become one of my favorite teams to work with. I think that every one of these gentlemen not only bring their A game each and every time they're on, the honesty and the integrity that comes with their comments is really what has attracted me to want to work with them on a regular basis. So let's get into the introductions so we can break down this 4chan leak that is packed with Xbox goodness from top to bottom. First up, you know him as not only the bravest man in gaming, but he is an incredible friend and co-host to this program. Please welcome Zemi Gaines.
Well, thank you so much, Boom. I'm super happy to be here, man. And I really cannot wait to jump in and talk about this leak. There is just so much information to just sort through and just touch on. So I just can't wait to jump in.
Yes, well, it's going to be great to hear everyone's opinion. Next up, our very good friend. You know him as someone that not only has an outstanding podcast that he does most of the time on a solo basis, which is very hard to do, but he is very active in the community, someone that is a teacher in real life, so he's actually doing some good for this world. Please welcome Insipid Ghost.
Man, it is so good to be here with you guys, chatting some Xbox, having a good time, plenty to talk about, and just a big thank you to the community, man. You guys gave me that shout out last week, and so many of them went and checked out the Xbox expansion pass that I noticed in the numbers. So big thank you to everybody watching the show. That means the world. Thank you, guys.
Well, listen, dude, what you do is incredible work, and to be honest, it has been a little difficult to find positive speaking podcast when you're talking about Xbox. I mean, obviously we have RDX. Obviously we have, of course, Randall Thor and Jez Corden's Xbox 2. We have this one, and there are several other ones that aren't so much that are Xbox specific, but they are great podcasts, and they talk about the brand in a proper manner. And you do it in a way that is respectful. And when Microsoft makes a mistake, you are not afraid to talk about it and give them the business. But at the same time, you are always looking to give credit where credit is due. And I think that is one of the traits that a lot of people gravitate towards your podcast. And I'm glad to have been the propellant, if you will, to get more eyes and ears on that show. And last, but certainly not least, he is someone who not only has become an absolute fan favorite. Joe, if you can only see the comments I get regarding having you on this show, you would have goosebumps from elbow to elbow. But I have to tell you, coming from someone who runs a PlayStation specific show, the fact that the integrity and honor that you bring to talking about all brands respectfully and under the same umbrella is certainly to be cheered upon. And I'm glad to have you a part of not only this particular show, but Breakfast with Boom for the foreseeable future. Welcome to the show, dude.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII. I've been playing a lot of Halo Wars 2 with that Luke Lore fellow over there. I'm having a good time, and I got some hot takes about these rumors, these speculations, and all that I can't wait to get into. So Yeah, the trophy room. Go check it out. We also actually the latest episode we talk about industry rumors and speculation and how much those actually hold up. So if you're interested in that, check it out. And yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's talk Xbox, which is crazy.
Yes, well, we have a lot to we have actually a lot to get into. So of course I'm going to bring up the picture I love the best. I actually have it on my PC. I think this is an amazing picture. Unfortunately, I didn't take it. I got it from the internet. So enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into this 4chan leak now. Normally, we were all talking prior to going live, and I have said this. I said it privately, and I'll say it publicly. When it comes to 4chan, when it comes to any of these other services, I am usually very suspicious of very detailed leaks because sometimes they're just too good to be true, if you know what I mean. And this particular leak is one of those leaks that is so unbelievably amazing that my first instinct was there's no way that this could be true. And the reason why I decided to shift my this show to completely talk about this 4chan leak was for a good friend of the show, Rand Althor 19. Now, Rand, I haven't spoken to him, personally about it, but he did do a video yesterday, which I watched 3 times. And the reason why I watched it is because obviously I'm a fan of his and I enjoy his work. But more so, it's what he said in the video that convinced me as a podcaster who respects the people that come out to watch these shows and your time. I decided to do this because he basically didn't confirm that everything is true. He did say numerous times that the reason why he decided to do a video on it was because he had been told a lot of this on the background of secret information that he would not have, talked about unless it was out there. So he didn't confirm specific items, but he did say that some of what was listed, he knows for a fact is true. So with that said, I want to break down, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to break this down into sections so it's easier to be digested by not only us as podcasters, but by the community at large who are listening. So the leak is by an anonymous, of course, and it says Next Gen Xbox, the road ahead. And it was posted on 4/13/20, which was Monday, which is yesterday, at just a minute or 10 seconds before 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And it has a picture of a chicken. Now, that picture of the chicken reminds me immediately of Fable, but I'm sure that's why they put it up there. And this is exactly how it starts out. There will be two next generation Xbox digital events in the next 2 months. The one in May will pretty much run like a proper console reveal event, but it'll have selected showcase game announcements and demos as well. The one in June is going to be their replacement for E3. Show is going to be packed with games. Now, the exact form of these two is still being worked on as we speak. It will be live streamed through video content, though. And this is where it continues. There will be tons of new games by Xbox first party, big guns, medium games, and a few smaller ones. It says their new games are sharing a lot of tech built with the Unreal Engine 4, from water to PBR to GI to producial systems with optimized Houdini access, VRS optimizations, physical vegetation systems, etc. The teams are trying to share the tech to accelerate development. And this is where, before I continue, this is where we're gonna start breaking it down. Now, we had heard that Microsoft, and this going back before the C19 became a real issue, before E3 was even canceled, we had heard that there was going to be a May event, a digital event, and this event was supposed to produce, based on the early rumors, that it was going to produce the Lockhart. We were going to get a console reveal of the Lockhart with a bunch of games. So my question, I'll start with Zemi. This is big, because what this is going to do, if this is confirmed, is basically we're not going to have to wait too much longer to get some big Xbox news. And having 2 digital events is going to allow Microsoft to handpick where they want particular games to show up. We're going to get the Halo Infinites. We're probably going to get some more Hellblade. But again, we're going to continue this leak. There's talk of Fable. There's talk about a whole bunch of other big AAA games that are going to be what the fans have been waiting for. You personally, do you like this 2 digital event take on what is essentially going to be an E3 just digitally?
Yeah. I mean, I like as much of Xbox as I can get, right? I mean, so the more shows I get to watch, the more news I get to, hear and just, digest, I guess the happier I'm going to be, right? And I do like the way that they're doing it, like they're going to be talking about, quite a, following what this leak says, talking about a lot more hardware stuff during the May show. And then, obviously I think it said that they were going to, show off a little bit of game, maybe some demos, some gameplay, whatever. I would imagine that they would probably show off Halo, maybe show off Forza or something like that with the new hardware. And which I think is excellent, because then that leads to E3, to the their June announcement, their E3 I guess press release, if you will, where they're going to hopefully be bringing nothing but games at us.
Yes.
Now I do kind of think that if the Lockhart, which we all kind of believe exists, I really still don't think that they would announce something like that, in May. I think that they would hold that off until the very end of E3 and then just drop that, because I think that would be just a huge blast at the end of the show. But I do like the way that they're setting it up. I'm excited to get as much more Xbox news as I can possibly get. So I couldn't be happier with the way that they're doing it.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot more to get into, and we're going to be talking about Fable, your favorite subject, in momentarily. Luke, I want to go to you next, because here's an opportunity. Microsoft, since December 12th of 2019, which we know is basically D-Day for them, right? It is the stake in the sand. It's Phil Spencer's way of saying the Xbox is not dead, that they're no longer going to take it lying down, so to speak. And they have been almost unbelievably different in the last 6 months compared to what they've been in the prior, it's the current generation, but the prior 6 years. It has been a brand new Xbox. It's been a very aggressive Xbox. It's been a very informative Xbox. But more importantly, I think what stands out for me is the messaging, the messaging to their fan base. They have been talking to us, the diehard fan base, that have felt pretty much, like we didn't matter to them. And that's not, in fact, the case. Now, with this leak, basically saying that we're getting 2 digital events, we don't know how long the events are going to be. I would imagine that they're probably going to be about an hour each. They could potentially be more. Again, we don't have a specific time, but they're saying that they're going to be bringing the games. And I think that you've heard Phil Spencer already say that is the next check on the bucket list, right? They have the power, they have the performance, they have the new additions to the controller. We know about some of the games. We know about Halo. We know about Hellblade. We know about Rare's next game that looks like Zelda, Everwild. But what I am expecting from these digital events are the games that we don't know about, that are going to be the ones that are going to be the breathtaking and holy shit moments that we're all hoping they're going to be. For you personally, do you like this 2 digital event May, June, I guess the 1-2 punch.
Absolutely. I think that it all comes down to, as you said, messaging, and that would be true regardless of any of the rumors. It's all about packaging your message well and staggering information that people might not like, whether it be price or a feature that's set or whatnot, and combining that with reasons to buy into the system and the ecosystem. That 1-2 punch is ideal because it couples some of that information with E3 type news, that digital event that IGN and several others are going to be participating in, probably a week or two of just video game announcements.
Yes.
And that could be easily lost in the shuffle. So having their own separate event to get out anything that they want to isolate a news cycle without fear of repercussion or of somebody trying to take their media spotlight, having 2 events is exactly what you want to do. Whether it falls in May and June or June, July, or what have you, doesn't matter. But two spots to isolate your messaging, control your messaging, and continue that aggressive slate that Microsoft has been having really since the Game Awards is exactly what we want to see, what I want to see from them moving forward.
I mean, listen, the potential for a lot of these games, and you know what? I want to ask your opinion on this because if you remember, pre-December 19, even like maybe pre-E3 2018, Phil Spencer has said numerous times on numerous interviews that they were a little hesitant to show games too far out, right? And we all called for that to be something that we all felt, I believe, that's something that needed to be lifted, because if you look at what Sony notoriously has done, they have been very good in selling hope, right? And letting you see Spider-Man almost 3 years before it was released. But what did they do? They sold hope. They got people excited, right? They got people that said, I'm going to buy this system because whenever that game comes out, I'm buying it day one. And we are seeing a change in ideology for Phil Spencer, where he kind of, I guess, maybe lifted these sanctions where they weren't afraid to show Hellblade. They weren't afraid to show Everwild. Well, and I have a feeling that we're going to get a glimpse into the future with a lot of the games. Is that something you are hopeful for in these 2 digital events?
Yes, but I think we need to look at the context there. When he said that they didn't want to show things too far out, that was right around the time Crackdown 3 dropped. And Crackdown 3, for any fun that anyone has had with it, it did not deliver on that power of the cloud promise that the early Xbox One media groups were trying to sell it as. It simply failed in that endeavor. So I think that was the premise. They're also coming off the scale-bound frustrations. Yes. So that was the context for which he was speaking there. But now that they've got a lot of their internal studios seemingly producing at a worthwhile rate, seemingly all under a comfortable umbrella of mentality and philosophy, it's likely that we'll get a cadence of high-profile AAA along with those smaller titles, Bleeding Edge, Grounded, things like that, and kind of go back and forth there with a comfortable cadence. So I think they do need to have some bangers that are several years out to showcase investment. They did a good job already of showing early things. This is early stuff. You're going to get this early in your Series X experience, but don't worry, Xbox One, we're not leaving you behind. The first year, we're going to have some stuff that is cross-gen and then smart delivery forward compatible. They do need to sell some of that hope, similar to Sony. The difference being that Sony delivered on their AAA promises, so they could extend their further out pieces of information. They delivered on Horizon. They delivered on Spider-Man. They've been selling hope for a while, but they also delivered a bit more than Microsoft has first party wise. So I'm all for them showing some stuff further out. They do need to maybe showcase some more Hellblade like announcements that's saying, hey, 2 years from now, Series X is giving you this. Year and a half from now, you're going to get this. 3 years down the line, you might even get a Fable. Who knows? So they need to stagger it. This is what we're looking at in a year. This is what we're looking at in a year and a half, 2 years, and vary it and showcase the cadence there. And so, yes, I'm all in on that mentality.
Yes, and I would agree 100%. You know, Mr. Bed, but I want to bring in here. But before I do, let me thank Fly Eagles Fly Bird Gang for the outstanding and very generous $5 super chat. And he says this: with the power of the Xbox Series X, Forza 8 is going to blow our minds. Yeah, I have a feeling that we are going to have one of those jaw-dropping moments when we see this game running, especially when it's running on new hardware that's going to take full advantage of what this game can deliver. Remember, they skipped an entire year. We should, by all rights, according to schedules, we should have gotten a Forza Motorsport 8 last fall, and we didn't. And them having an entire year to prepare for the power and developed for the maximum version of the Xbox Series X, it is going to be incredible. So thank you so much for the compliment. Thank you so much for being here, but of course your generosity as well. And as we close in on 250 people already here, I want to welcome everybody. I don't do that enough. I try to get and say hello to everybody individually. Sometimes when you're doing the show, I do it late and some people are like, yeah, boom, I've already been here. It's not because I didn't see you. It's just that I'm trying to do this show, and sometimes it just gets a little overwhelming. So before I start saying hello individually, which I'm going to do, I just wanted to welcome everybody and say thanks for being here. But Mr. Badbit, let's talk about these two digital events.
Sure.
With obviously this is a rumor, so we have to take everything with a grain of salt. And until Microsoft or Phil Spencer or Aaron Greenberg or Matt Booty come out there and say, hey, listen, we are in fact having two digital events. Here's the dates. Be there or be square. We can only take this as a rumor. But with that said, we have heard that there was going to be an event in May. We've heard that for quite some time. We know for a fact that there is going to be a June event because it's going to be replacing what they had planned for obviously E3 that was canceled. So even though it's speculation at this point, we could kind of I hedge our bets that this is probably true. For you personally, this is I'm interested to hear your opinion on how big of an opportunity is this for Microsoft to really, just drive that point home that, all right, we know the power, right? We know some games. We know that the controller has a share button. We know that it's been, it's going to be a better controller than you're even used to now. But the people want to play the games, Mr. Badbit. Yeah. Is this an opportunity for Microsoft to, I guess, tie this package up with a nice, pretty bow?
I really think that, I'm going to sound super negative, and I apologize. But because I'm super positive and I'm super upbeat. But when I took a look at this rumor, I did not make a video on this because I literally thought this was just standard knowledge, because this is I read this rumor and I was just, it's just like I went to a bad clairvoyant and they're just like, so there's someone you're close to, someone that you love. And I'm just like, yeah, sure. Do you have any siblings of some sort? Yeah. It's just like, it's very,
so it's not surprising is what you're saying.
No, it's not surprising. It's super surface level. It's also something where you take a look at these, some of the surface level rumors. There's always two things that are kind of on the money. They're kind of right. And then there's multiple things that aren't. So first and foremost, everybody's expectations. Let's take a step back so we don't have another Gears Tactics moment is what I'm trying to say. Right. We thought, IGN was going to show something huge. It was an article. And so first and foremost, gotta take a step back here. And when I say it's also surface level, this is exactly what Microsoft did when they released the Xbox One. And I also believe the 360, if I'm not wrong. So they're just going off a trend that has been proven time and time again, that this is what Microsoft does. They have a May event. They then have a June event afterwards. And the May event's mostly talking about the tech inside the machine. They're going to show you a few games for sure. And then June is the showcase. So to me, none of this surprises me. To me, this is totally expected. But for this two-prong approach from Microsoft, the thing that does have me excited are that we're going to start seeing things like the physical based rendering. We're going to see the what is it, the vertical rendering system? What is it called?
Yeah,
variable.
You're gonna see some physical vegetation systems.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Like-
see the VRS. What the optimizations come with VRS.
We're going to see those technologies play out, and so we can finally. Because the thing that I hate, and we're probably there are probably people in the comments banging the drum. I hate the notion of like, we have the best teraflops and the flip flops, and I'm like, I don't care about that. I want to see how they take that technology and they show it to us. Like they prove
Joe,
it to
I
us.
feel
Like,
attacked by your knowledge and
How
your
dare you.
your,
How
your
dare
logic.
you.
I feel so attacked.
Does anyone actually? I just have to interject here. Does
No.
anybody have any idea what Houdini access is?
nobody does, but we're gonna pretend, and that's the thing.
It's provocative.
It sounds cool
It's the
though.
people going.
I mean, you tell me that I'm about to buy a game that has Houdini access in it. I'm all in, buddy.
That's
I'm
all I have.
going in.
boys. Some blast processing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is at the end of the day. Like teraflops are the new blast processing. I want to see it. And what I mean by that, it's not like a Sony defense. Look, PS5 is a slower system. Who cares? Right? I'm still gonna play The Last of Us 2 on it. I don't care. To me, the thing that excites me is seeing that technology play, seeing those teraflops being shown to us, like a game like Gears 5. Gears 5 is one of, if not the prettiest games I have ever played, and one of the smoothest shooters I have ever played. It's beautiful to look at, it's beautiful to play, and it captures what Gears of War is. That's what I want to see out of the next gen Microsoft. That's what I think we're about to see. Like we saw it with Hellblade. That's cool. Let me see that game now in action. You know, we saw it in Project Mara. Oop, I hit my mic. That's how excited I am. Let's see some gameplay to it. Let's see Halo. Let's see one of my favorite action RPGs of all time, that is Fable. And yeah, let's see it. Like the thing that gets me way more excited, I'm not even kidding you guys, this is how much I think it teraflops. The thing that gets me the most excited is seeing things like physical vegetation systems. What is that? Are we going to see like plants grow in real time? Or are you going to be able to, let's just say I hit a tree and it actually, you actually could chop it down with your sword? Those are the things that excite me way more. Seeing engines like the Unreal being worked for next gen, seeing things like ray tracing. I want to see all that in the next generation of games. So I'm excited for their two-pronged approach, because it is very Microsoft of them to go, okay, we're going to show you the tech, and we're going to showcase it probably with Fable and probably with Halo, so you get the gist, and then we're going to show you everything else with the showcase.
The nice part about that tech, though, is what Rand was saying in his video, and I think a lot of us are starting to take with this new philosophy of first-party Xbox Game Studio umbrella, is that different developers within that umbrella are sharing tech. So those things that you're talking about, the idea that Ninja Theory develops a method that is really good at rendering eyes or breaking trees or what have you, can be shared with Playground, can be shared with 343 or the Initiative, and all of those, that mentality.
They're having a clear communication.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what makes Sony so good at their first party, is everybody has clear communication with each other. So seeing Microsoft finally get on that page and going, you know what, 343 does, or Ninja Theory makes great eyes, and 343 needs some good eyeballs. Or you know what, Phil, or Mark Cerny needs some ears. Go with the shit that's got the best.
Don't take my ears, sir, please. I need them.
I want them for my study. But like that's the thing that gets me so excited, is we're about to finally see what all these numbers actually mean.
Yes.
And and also show me more Gears Tactics. I'm ready.
Yo, yes.
Yes, I'm ready. I mean, like I said, it's Gears Tactics looks amazing. I think that when they bring it up close and you're chainsawing someone or you're doing one of those finishing moves, I think that it's ingenious. I love everything about the game. I think that it's different enough so you can say, well, it's not the same old Gears, but it's still the same old Gears, I suppose, where you're getting
I hate that argument. It's like, what?
Yeah, me too. It's ridiculous. We're actually. It's funny because if you guys obviously are privy to the show notes, because I sent it to you when I was done writing it, about how the three pillars that hold up the platform are so discounted by not only by the mass media but by the consumers as well. We're going to go into a lot of real detail as to why that it's the same old Gears has so many holes. It's ridiculous. But I want to continue with this, and the next one is tantalizing. The next part of this rumor, because it says this: Fable is one of these showcase games they're going to display. A fantasy monster, they're calling it. I haven't seen it personally, and this is not me saying this is what the rumor is saying, the leak is saying, but I got told it looks beautiful. They tried to build the whole fantasy world with handcrafted photogrammetry, yet the world will throw in a mix of procedural generation for bigger scale, complete RPG systems in place, focus on great third-person fights and fluid animations. From the sound of it, I expect the game to hit in 2022. Now, let's talk about Fable for a second, because this is the game I think everyone is waiting for. Now, granted, I am slightly wrong when I say that comment, because the other day I was talking about Fable, and there were several people. I think people are just frustrated because there's no confirmation. I don't necessarily think they're actually people trying to bang a drum saying that the IP is not worth bringing back or the IP doesn't have value. Because if you are on that side, well, this is where I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. Normally I won't do that, but I'm going to tell you, at least my opinion is that you are wrong about that, because it is a beloved franchise. It is a franchise that has 3 games behind it. It is a franchise that has the potential to take on the Witcher 3s and the Horizon Zero Dawns and whatever else you want to put up against it, if it's done properly with respect to the fan base, but more importantly, respect to the lore that built the trilogy that is available for you to play right now on your Xbox. But I'm gonna go to Zemi, because obviously this is one of his favorite things to talk about. And hearing, okay, again, this is a mere 50 sentence paragraph, so there's not a lot of meat on the bones, but there's enough to say, I liked what this chef did. I just need a bigger piece of chicken the next time. So with what was said about the bigger scale and the procedural generation, and the fantasy world being beautiful, and it being it sounds like it's going to be an epic romp, which I think we all want. More specifically, I think it's what the Xbox brand needs. They need to put something out there that are going to quiet down the people that says Xbox have no games, and I think that this could be one of those games to do it. Are you excited to know that this could be one of the first games shown in that May showcase?
Absolutely. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, what type of question is that?
Fight him.
What are you saying?
It was a
Boom?
question. It wasn't meant to be like, well, are you really shocked?
Conversation starter.
No, I mean, look, they could literally just put the words Fable up on the screen somewhere and I would be giddy. Okay. I'd just be happy with that. Just give me some confirmation that you are working on another Fable game, and we're fine. You don't have to show us anything else. Just give me that little nugget of information.
You're kind of like the Metroid, like just the PNG image.
Yeah, sure, that's right. Yeah, Metroid Prime 4 and people fainting in the streets. Yeah.
What if it's Fable Immortal and they say, "Hey, it's a mobile game. You guys have phones, right?"
Okay,
Fable
you know what? we don't even need to talk about that.
Well, you guys don't have phones?
Let's just not go there. But no, I was super excited to hear. I mean, honestly, that was probably like the thing that got me the most excited out of all the different topics that are listed here. But I really like how they, like the guy said, beautiful graphics. A few months ago, I think we were looking at some images of like what kind of looked like a Fable game. I think that those were leaked though. Am I right, Boom? in saying that?
Yes.
If the graphics look anywhere near that, it's going to be a just breathtaking game, right? And I hope that those images were true, because those images were just beautiful in of themselves, right? But one thing that did actually get me really, really kind of excited and kind of somewhat thinking about it a little bit more is, the leak talks about how, talks a little bit about like the third person combat and the fluid animations and stuff like that. And I always kind of somewhat thought that that was somewhat of a weakness of the previous Fables. Don't get me wrong. I love the previous Fables, right? And at the time that they released, the gameplay was really good. But, even still kind of thinking back about it, the gameplay was a little stiff. Right, the controls were not perfect.
Yes.
Also, being evil was just always the better move.
Yeah, that's if it gives you a power boost because of your decision, that's not a balanced idea.
I mean, I just didn't like to have the horns on my head. I always preferred the halo and the angel wings.
Let me stop you right there. What if they take this a step further and go, you know what? The renegade and good options of Mass Effect, let's build upon that in a very deep way where that actually the character you're building, your gameplay matches what decisions you're making. So if you do want to be that loyal good, those decisions, like, not only do you see it morph your body, but also the powers and abilities you're getting for it. I think that'd be dope. Kind of like how Siths shoot lightning and Jedis have, like, I don't know what
heal.
Cool
They heal.
You know what else would be actually really cool, since you kind of mentioned that? Like, have something implemented into the game where, whatever you're choosing your different dialogue choices, if you've been evil for the first half of the game, then have like a really, really awful evil choice or statement that you could say to somebody that would completely be cut off if you hadn't done all those evil things before. Right?
I like that. I think
that would be really cool. But think about it like this, right? Playground Games, they made Forza Horizon, which is a fantastic game. The controls are so good. I mean, they're just so on point, right?
Yeah.
And they're making this Fable game. They already proved that they can make an amazing, multiple amazing racing games with fantastic, really tight and responsive controls. So I just really cannot wait to see what they do with this new Fable game.
And to kind of jump off that, if you'd allow.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
When they talk about photogrammetry, it was the first time I heard of this technology, and then I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, it's actually super rad."
Oh yes, indeed.
Jumping off of Playground, you know what, Luke? Go home. Talking about photogrammetry, it's the act of taking a building and literally scanning it, or taking and seeing Forza being able to take these architecture that you love, like the British architecture, and put that in game so accurately. The thing that gets me excited here is using that technology to scan replicas or the actual things of like cathedrals, of what buildings would look like at that time, scanning them into the game. That gets me super hyped, because then you're getting
you're getting 1-to-1s is what you're getting. Yeah,
exactly. And it's not even you'll still get the artist's vision in there. You can kind of
they still have to make it look cartoony.
I don't know. Like, and that's the thing. Do you think
just for scale purposes, I know what he means. I know what he means. Just for movement around the world, I get what he's saying.
Yeah. But like that has me super excited, because I'm a big nerd when it comes, and the thing that gets me the most excited about the next generation of games for both PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X is that now there are no limitations. Like, you see it in Final Fantasy VII. The city is just a series of tubes. Now you actually, as a programmer, get to make a literal city, a grid-based like city, and you're not held back because of the hardware anymore. So like Fable gets to really create the thing that they want. So going into the the first city in Fable 1 was such an awesome moment for me, because at the time it felt like a hustling, bustling city, but now having that technology in there, having that 1-to-1 architecture, having that the lack of hardware getting in the way of the software, now you're actually going to hear it. Because that's the thing I always wanted the most in video games is when I'm in a city, I want to actually feel it. I want to hear people, as I pass by, having conversations to themselves that have nothing to do with what I'm doing. And that's what I want in video games. And that's what I'm hoping is out of Fable.
Well, you know what's interesting? The Gears 5 did that. Coalition did that with Gears 5 and several of the levels. They were wide linear levels, so it's not quite as open world, but they did a great job with those conversations that were relevant to the game, but not necessarily relevant to you as the character. And so the outposts felt alive. And I think a lot of people miss that when they played it. And if we go back to our comment about sharing tech or sharing methodology, it could be that the Coalition talks to them and says, hey, this is what we did. This was successful in this endeavor. Maybe try this or that. Because that would be a great idea. Because Fable, I think the big picture is whether you've played the first Fables or not, whether they hold up or not, Fable is an important franchise to Microsoft and to Xbox fans. And it's going to generate a lot of goodwill if we do see that splash screen, whether it's the Metroid Prime 4, just a PNG right up there, or we get a full-on trailer, Breath of the Wild style, whatever it is, people are going to be excited about Xbox once again if that word Fable shows up there.
Yeah. I mean, again, as someone who is a multi-console gamer, but like my history, my lineage is with Xbox. I miss the hell out of Fable.
Yeah,
like Fable used to be
it's
that
one of those franchises that it's shocking to me that we have not had. We had an attempt at a 4v1, but that's not the Fable that we all wanted. That's why that game got canceled. But it is amazing to me, as rich with history as Albion is, for the lore for the 3 games. So Albion, sorry if I mispronounced it.
How dare you?
I know, shame on me as a host. Oh my God, boo this man! Somebody says, give me the boo. The history of Albion is there's so much untold story. That you know what, I want to turn this around because this leak we can plow through this leak in 2 seconds. And actually, hold on just a second. Hold on, because one of the original written topics that I want to save for Thursday is what we want for Fable. And I don't want us to answer that question now because I know you gentlemen have a potential of coming back and for that show, and that original topic was written and it's really well done. And I want to save it for that. I am going to say this. Okay. Xbox as a company has done a lot of things right? We know it's so easy to look at what they did wrong to start the generation, some of the trips and fumbles that they've had throughout this particular generation. Very few people want to give credit where credit is. It's been a running joke for quite some time to beat down on Xbox. Now that's nobody here on this panel. But we've seen it on other shows, which will remain nameless because I don't do that.
Trophy room.
But Xbox expansion pass.
Actually, Luke, I want to bring you into the conversation because, and then of course, Joe, I have you come on the back end of it because I know you have a lot to say regarding it. Right now, there were a lot of things that Microsoft did right, which I just said. This particular game, this particular franchise can be, in my opinion, the cherry on top. And if you can go out there and again, we're not going to see gameplay. I don't think we're going to see that, but we could see a trailer similarly to what we saw with both Halo Infinite's trailers, right? We saw the foliage, we saw the animals running around. We show a couple of soldiers where they popped the flare. They showed just the leg and the helmet of Master Chief. So we could logistically get something along those lines. Anything like that would immediately elevate the Xbox brand to a level it hasn't been to in a long time. Is that what you are expecting from this rumored reveal?
And I think we do see some gameplay of some kind. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be like full. It'd probably be similar to, the most apt comparison is we'll likely get something similar to Hellblade, where it's an in-engine proof of concept. And I think that's likely what we would see.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
I think that would be the right way to go. Whatever it is they do show us, though, they need to be distinct with it. It cannot look like Everwild, which has its own unique art style that was reminiscent of Fable. I think when we first saw Everwild come on the screen, we were like, wait, is this the new Fable? And the fact that it had potential for that means that whatever they do artistically, it needs to be distinct. So it needs to showcase whatever this new Fable is. And I want to see a proof of concept in that. I want you to show me why I should be excited for Fable beyond the PNG image, which we will all lose our minds for. There's no doubt about it. But show me something. Give me that same hype level excitement of Hellblade 2. That's what I think they should all go for, because as cool as Halo Infinite's trailer was, it was Hellblade 2 that felt special.
Yes, I agree. That's a great point. Point. So you want more. I mean, like, what do you want to see from this trailer that's probably going to be about, anywhere between 50 seconds. It's probably going to be the max run, maybe 2 minutes. I mean, do you want to see some of the world? Do you want to see some of the magic? Do you want to see a creature or two? Do you want to see some sword play? What would be the contributing wow factor for you?
I think the biggest wow factor for me in there will be show me a touch of combat, just a little bit of combat, to show how they're going to be realizing Fable in this current gen. What have they learned from Breath of the Wild, Final Fantasy, The Witcher? What have they learned from the fantasy genre, as it were? Because it has evolved quite a bit. You go back and play Witcher 3 right now, and even some of those mechanics will feel dated, and we arguably call that one of the best, if not the best. So I want to see something that realizes that fully fantasy-like world. So something in the combat range, and then the art needs to be on display heavily. You need to see something in that world of Fable at Albion. It needs to look unique. I don't want it to look like anything else.
You want it to be its own wow thing, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
If Fable is to come back, it needs to be distinct. It cannot look like Kingdoms of Amalur. It cannot look like World of Warcraft. It cannot look like it's another game. It needs to be special.
Right. No, that's a great point. Real quick, Joe, before I bring in here, I have to welcome into the chat, and of course his generosity, the best bot known as Kid Smooth. Kid, I hope you are well and your family is doing well. Thank you so much for the generosity. He says this: we will get Fable gameplay in a form of a trailer. Think about Horizon Zero Dawn's first trailer, and you know something, Kid? If they do that, they are going to attract a lot of new Xbox players, because that's exactly what Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, like, I already was buying a PlayStation 4 day one, but when I saw that Horizon Zero Dawn trailer, I said, holy cow, that's amazing. And I think that Kid is right, perfectly on point with that. That's what I would like. So let's bring in Mr. Badbit here. Now, obviously, this works out perfectly, because not only did I read Kid Smooth's super chat, but because you are a PlayStation centric player for the most part, even though you play on everything, do you agree with Kid Smooth that the way to display something that the fan base has been wanting and waiting for could and should be in the lines of what they did when Guerrilla Games and Sony showed off Horizon Zero Dawn? Would that be exciting for you as a fan?
I think I like Kid Smooth's comment, because I'll circle back to when Phil said, I want a Horizon Zero Dawn on my console.
Yes,
that's what I want. I want an RPG that gets taken seriously. Now, again, Horizon's not everybody's cup of tea. I know it's ours, but for me, as a Fable fan, first and foremost, pure speculation on our parts. We're just having fun here. I hope you guys are.
Just again, remember, grain of salt, everybody. Grain of salt.
I think the way they roll this game out is, if I'm thinking through the PR marketing lens, is first they drop a 2-minute trailer tops, so that you could get that on Twitter. And then they drop down a full breakthrough of what you can expect in this game. Because if they're talking about, like, vegetation, VRB or whatever, what is it?
VRS.
VRS. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, VRS. If they're showing off the Super SSD, then you want to have a breakdown of what that actually means. You want to translate teraflops numbers into actual English for our eyes, which is show us how this works. Show us some of the game mechanics. So I think you're going to see, if anything, you're going to see him in a city, or her, I don't care. You're gonna see them in a city. You're gonna see them walking outside. You're gonna see them take down a mob or two, and then probably a big old boss, and then cuts to the end. And then you get Fable. I don't know. Fable crossing new horizons.
Yeah, no, yeah, and no one knows there's going to be, if there's going to be a subtext to Fable. Is it going to be this, the champion of Albion? Is it going to be the return of the king? And whatever mantra you want to throw in there, though it could be just Fable. Now,
oh yeah, I more than anything, I'd like a reboot. And when it comes to art style, I think Microsoft doesn't get enough credit for having such a variety of palettes to work with. Like you got the you got the scientific or sci-fi look with Halo and Gears to some degree, and then or horror vibes more for Gears, like sci-fi horror vibes from them. Even Halo, you know what? Whatever I'm saying, disagree with it. And then you get the cartoony vibes with Sea of Thieves, which is an amazing game nonetheless. And then you get like the realistic look of like Forza. Like they have a lot of variety there. So just show me something that, like what Luke said, it does need to show that it is aged, because we have games and other RPGs that have pushed the genre farther. Whether you're going into more of the realistic, it does need to look distinct, because you don't want it to be, okay, we look like, Breath of the Wild for, sake. And then you're also sandwiched between Witcher 3, and then you're like, well, all right. So you got to find a middle ground for their art direction, which I have no doubt, if this game's actually a thing, they have found. I'm super excited. I love Fable.
I agree. Well, you know what? I want to move on to this one isn't going to be very long at all. At least I don't think so, simply because there's not a lot here, but there is some room for or wiggle room, I should say, for speculation.
Yeah.
The next part of this leak says big exclusive new IP coming from a Japanese studio. No further details known. Now, here is the thing. Again, simplistic in its delivery, right? It's only a matter of 12 words at best. But it's the content and the weight of these words that has me excited. And here's why. If we look back to what Sony did with getting Bloodborne as an exclusive to this console, to the PlayStation 4, not only is it considered by most, and I would even say many in the PlayStation community, as one of the finest exclusives that is not first party, right? Some people think Bloodborne is better than Demon Souls. Some people would say Bloodborne is better than Dark Souls. Some people would even argue that Bloodborne could run shoulder to shoulder with Sekiro. And I'm not here to argue with it, because normally it's not my genre. But I am going to say this. We have heard Phil Spencer talk about getting an exclusive Japanese game. We know that they want a studio. We know they want several studios, and I'm still in the belief that they're going to build an initiative level studio from scratch in Japan. Build those roots in that region. I think that's what they're going to do. Again, this is my speculation. But getting back to this, if by some chance that they have tasked someone like From Software to create a game for their console that they are fully funding, the same way Sony helped out with Bloodborne, this could be a page ripped and stolen right out of the PlayStation playbook. And I think it would be big for Microsoft. I think it would be unbelievably huge for the brand and the platform, but more so for the actual machine to be able to run something in next generation that is an originally created IP specifically for the Xbox brand. Now, again, it's probably going to be on PC too, and that's fine, but you will not be able to play this on a Sony machine, and I think they need more games like that. I'm going to go to Zemi Games. Listen, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a Demon Souls or Dark Souls / type of game, but to have something of Bloodborne's quality and craftsmanship as an exclusive and a new IP for the Microsoft brand would be huge. What are your thoughts on this small but weighty rumor, a part of this leak?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about on this podcast probably 1,000 times about how we believe it's important for Xbox to get a Japanese studio. So I'm not even going to go, or a Japanese game of some sort. So I'm not even going to go there, right? But what I really found really interesting out of that was the wording of what was said in that leak, specifically so that they're, going to announce a new exclusive IP coming from a Japanese studio, but they don't say anything like, it's coming from a newly acquired Japanese studio or anything like that, anything to lead anyone to thinking that they acquired a studio, which I think is really, really interesting. And you kind of already, bounced around this, but, so it kind of just means, to me, that kind of means two things. Either they're, acquiring a game that's second party, or they're contracting out with, maybe similar to how they did with Platinum Games with Scalebound. Yeah. So I just kind of found that section of the leak interesting from that point of view, that it says nothing about acquiring a studio or has acquired a studio or anything like that, which is what all the rumors and leaks and speculations here recently have kind of all been talking about, right? So I just kind of found that, I guess, interesting in of itself, is that the way that they would be going about this is either getting what I would imagine a second party game, or they'd be contracting out similar to how they did with Platinum Games. But it, once again, I really shouldn't even have to say this, but it's extremely important that they get more Japanese titles onto their platform, especially with them pushing into that market with xCloud and the new next gen consoles.
No, I agree, and like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this because there's not a lot here. So this, again, complete speculation, but at the same time, taking the ideology and what we know of what Phil Spencer has been doing while he's been in Japan, besides setting up xCloud, besides setting up Xbox Game Pass in Korea and Japan, which what we talked about on last night's Primetime Gaming, and how that's going to open the market for them to succeed in these regions that they've notoriously failed. Getting a big deal from a company that is stout as like From Software. Again, this is speculation. We don't know it's From Software. It could be from someone else. We know it's not going to be Platinum Games. I can assure you of that. Okay. But if they did contract a second party or were funding this original IP, and it was from Software, they come with unbelievable talent, and we've seen what they've been able to do. And I think Microsoft would have a trust with this company to know that they would deliver. You know what, Mr. Badbit, let me bring you in here first, because obviously, when we talk about your channel and the trophy room, we obviously know that it is, of course, a Sony-centric show, which is fantastic. Yeah. For you, looking from the outside in as a Sony fan, seeing what Microsoft could do to better the company, how important for you do you believe getting a Bloodborne type game exclusive new IP for the Xbox platform is for Microsoft moving forward?
It's strange. So we talked about this last episode of like, what does Microsoft need to do? Because Microsoft's biggest problem in the Asian markets is that they're just looked at as an American company.
Correct.
And they're not taken seriously in that regard, because they're like, oh, you're just an American company trying to expand into us. And so they kind of shoo the idea of a Western company trying to hold their ground there. With that said, though, I think Microsoft's biggest opportunity, and I think we're seeing it here, is, and I say this every time I'm on a show, man, it's not about power, it's about messaging. The future is xCloud. And if you're wanting to make headway, we make gaming accessible to everyone.
Yes.
And how we make that accessible is what do most people have? They have phones. We made a joke about it earlier, but what we see out of the Eastern audiences is that it's huge into mobile. Mobile games are the bee's knees. That and in PC games, if we're going to places like South Korea. And so how you make that a reality is you bring xCloud to as many mobile phones as you possibly can, so that you bring people into that ecosystem. And that's why I think we've seen, like, most of the Final Fantasy games, I think like all the Kingdom Hearts games, right, are coming to Game Pass or are on Game Pass or now into the Xbox ecosystem as the first step of going, hey, look at Japanese audience, we got what you want. Right, here's just a taste of it. So more than like them purchasing a studio or them purchasing a publisher is what they need to do, which it would be awful. Like a lot of people are like, if Xbox bought Sega, oh my god, it'd be I don't even know how that would how people in
a
Japan
lot of
would
logistics.
react. Yeah, I don't know how people in Japan would react to that type of news. But to me, what Microsoft should do is go after that cloud gaming market in Asia. And then also at the same exact time, if we're making a new IP, they do have two ends. So they do have Capcom that makes or is known to make Dead Rising. They could talk to them about making a new IP. It doesn't have to be an RPG, but if you wanted to, the other end that we've seen Microsoft begin to make is with Square. We saw that in their what is it, their big event in EXO in November.
EXO 19, where they had Square come up there, and they put all those games into Game Pass. Yeah,
it was an amazing show. And so if you've made inroads there and you have relations with Capcom, you can definitely make something that's appealing for both of those companies. And I think that's what Microsoft kind of should do money wise, because making a new studio in Japan is harder than what we like or tend to believe, because the cultures are just so different. But Luke, you said you wanted to like counterpoint me. How dare you?
No, I was agreeing with a lot of what you said. I think there's a lot of fundamental value in partnering with somebody like Capcom, because they do have IP that could be relied on. Something like, I think someone in the chat correctly said Dino Crisis. I think that'd be a great remake to get. What I don't want, though, is anything that's trying to attack the Asian audience market that is timed exclusive. I don't think that's a valuable thing. I think
I agree. It's got to be an exclusive and stay an exclusive. I agree.
Exactly. That's the value of Bloodborne over on Sony's side. I think Capcom would be very bullish to send any of their IP, given the frustration they experienced with Street Fighter V. How that was PC.
Yeah, they if you ever look, that's a great point, because if you've ever heard them talk about it, they don't necessarily say it was a mistake, but they say it in context about how you got to remember, people don't understand this. Street Fighter V released broken because their heels were to the fire. We got to remember this is 2016, when they were taking any deals they can get because they were on the verge of bankruptcy, and they had to rush that game out. Do you know that Street Fighter V for the PlayStation 4, which is an exclusive, is currently the worst selling in the entire franchise? And this is going all the way back to the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this Asian market, they're doing it right. It's seen on paper right now. We should say we won't see the fruits of this seed laid bare yet. But the fact that they are doing a multi-prong approach by bringing in a number of respected titles in that market into Game Pass, Final Fantasy, Yakuza, Kingdom Hearts, and then approaching with xCloud. Then they have Crossfire X and Cartrider, which are huge in Korea. They're working on building these franchises and moving into those markets on a number of levels. And it's not as simple as, we made Blue Dragon, we got Lost Odyssey. It's more thought out. And I think that shows a renewed interest and a value to that market, because Microsoft is a respected $1 trillion company, no doubt, but an American culture in gaming doesn't necessarily parlay well into a Japanese culture in gaming. We've seen that time and again. Those bridges can be built, can be extended, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it has to be gradual. There will be no one title that sells an Xbox Series X over in Japan. There will not be just one.
And I think, to just jump a little bit further, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but it's a great way. How dare you? It's a great way of Microsoft, also trying to appeal to the Western audience that do play JRPGs, that do play those Japanese style games, and going, hey, look, gang, we got something for you here as well. And I think I think that approach for Microsoft, to me, also makes a lot of sense for them to try to appeal the best they can to the Asian markets, and then at the same exact time, the markets that are here that are into those games.
Look, I know I agree. I think that what everyone is saying is right on par. But at the end of the day, and you know what, I didn't even really take into the account, because the reason why I said From Software is simply because Randall Thor made mention of it. It didn't dawn on me that this could in fact be a deal with Capcom. It could in fact be a deal with Square. Like we don't know who this Japanese company. Remember, this is just a rumor, but I am going to say that I agree with Luke 1000%. Whatever this is, it has to remain an exclusive, not 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, eventually. No, it has to, just like Bloodborne, it has to remain on the platform with the potential for a sequel. We know, and here's the other thing a lot of people don't talk about, and this is a little off subject, but Microsoft, as we know, has the marketing rights for Elden Ring, which is coming out, and that's
point.
Yeah, and so you got to remember they had the marketing rights for Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, which was again something we didn't expect. So maybe with all of these marketing deals, there's more handshaking going on behind the scenes to get an exclusive, similarly to Bloodborne.
So can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys were saying that it has to be an exclusive, and I agree. Exclusives, yeah, I mean they definitely would serve their purpose in this, right? But instead of it being locked down as an exclusive, what if they locked it down to being on Game Pass, indefinitely? That way, the consumers could then have access to all of those games for a heavily reduced price.
I mean, if I put it this way, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that it was going to come out for From Software was doing it. Let's just say, for instance, it's them. This game would probably go into Game Pass, but more so, it would be focused and marketed to go into Game Pass immediately in the Asian region, because that market would be starving for something, and Microsoft will have already established themselves with Project xCloud and Xbox Game Pass. You remember that this, for them, strategically releasing xCloud in the beta form in both Japan and in Korea, which has done unbelievable well, better than they ever thought. And now they're sneaking in Xbox Game Pass. They're setting themselves up for the potential that if they do have a big exclusive that is Japanese based, like From Software is known for making, it is going to be a big deal. So I would imagine that would immediately go into that regional Game Pass. Now, would it come here into Game Pass? Probably. But I agree with you. I think that it would behoove Microsoft to have everyone have a chance to play this game.
They will have to make their brand more viable first. I don't think, I love Zemi's idea, but they still have to make Xbox a less tarnished name in that market before that works. Because I
agree with that.
That's the only factor to that.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, though, people are a lot more forgiving whenever you're offering them a crap ton of value. Right?
That's
I mean,
true.
McDonald's could do something just terrible. They could have a major PR disaster, but we're all still going to go there for that $1 cheeseburger.
I'm with you. I just don't think a $60 is the difference. Like Phantasy Star Online is a game that tons of people are loving right now, but I don't hear a lot of buzz about it. And I'm wondering if one game would be the moneymaker over in that market before. But
I think it could. I mean. Well, for instance, the only reason why I ever bought an Xbox 360 was because of Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I could only play. I could have bought a PC as well, but at the time it wasn't available for PlayStation 3. That's literally the only reason why I bought that console. I would have probably still played on PlayStation 2 for another 5 years, right? So I mean, that one right game, I mean, obviously, and it's different for everyone, right? Everyone has different tastes and appeal to different things, but I think that if they landed that one really good solid title and they got that on Game Pass, and if it was popular enough, I think that it could drive a lot of traffic over to them.
What type of game would it have to be? Like, because Halo Infinite, or are we talking about like what type of game makes Xbox viable there?
Well, okay, so they have to dig into the third party, right? They have to stop Sony from being able to lock down all of these third party games as PlayStation exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
That's a first step, right? So that way, instead of, automatically being like, hey, I'm going to go buy a PlayStation because I want to play all of my favorite Japanese titles. I want to play Persona. I want to play, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, whatever it may be, instead of them automatically going to Sony because they know that that's going to, they have to buy that to play their games. I think that, unlocking the third party games onto their platform would be a really, really good start. And then obviously, maybe creating a JRPG, an Xbox exclusive JRPG that you can.
Well, I mean, look how well they did with Lost Odyssey. Do you know people are still clamoring for either a reboot or I guess a standard sequel. Yeah. Lost Odyssey was a big deal. Same thing with Blue Dragon.
But it didn't work, though. That's the trick. Like, you're right. I agree. There are people that love those games, but it didn't work at selling the brand. That's why I think it's got to be a multi-pronged attack there.
That's why I think, honest to goodness, it's the power of xCloud. That's the thing.
Well, actually, you know what? Before you actually finish that, let me just read Kid Smooth. First of all, Kid Smooth, thanks so much for listening, dude. Super appreciate it and love what you do with this community. He drops an additional and very generous $5 super chat and says this, and this is where, Joe, I want you to take on this point. Sure. He says Xbox will catch on in Japan via xCloud and PC. That's why the Game Pass launch is huge. Xbox won't sell consoles in Japan, but they will in fact get subs. And I think that he is on to something. And I think that you can easily sell a $15 a month subscription that offers you the ability to play on your phone and your tablet, but also have access to all of these 200 plus games. But more specifically, whoever is handling that region for Microsoft will know that they're going to go out and try and get these third-party Japanese RPGs that people still play there. And if they can do that, they will have a winning combination.
And so going even further into that, Japan is all about mobile games.
Yes, they are.
We like to think that Sony's the big bad in this scenario, but it's really the Switch. Switch is selling like hotcakes because
it certainly is.
Yeah, they want to take that on the road. They want to take that while they're walking, while they're in their subways, like to get from point A to point B when they're on their lunch breaks. There's Vita did God bless it. Did well in Japan.
Come on.
God bless it. You know what? It's in the grave. We could talk about it. All right. It's the body's cold. But it held its own in Japan because that's what people wanted. And with Nintendo coming in and kind of swooping that, it's a groundswell movement over there when it comes to mobile gaming, come to the Switch. So instead of talking in a circle, what I will say is Microsoft needs to do that. They have, their cell towers are fantastic over there. Their internet,
they really
is fantastic, and they could utilize that. And my question then to you guys, and then building upon that, is PlayStation does have a PlayStation Japan studio, and what I think when we're talking about how do we take IPs away from Sony is paying big bucks for Persona, not because they don't want Xbox to get it. They could care less. They don't want the Switch to get it. They don't want Nintendo to get these because people will then just stop buying PlayStation. So for Microsoft, you need to go and walk up to Atlas. You need to shake some hands over at Sega and going, okay, gang, what do we need to do price wise to get Persona on our console? Like what's the check going to look like? Because we want it here as well. Because again, it's to me, it's more about appealing to the Western audience that likes those games, and then building maybe a little something where, you know, this Xbox Japan studio is again partnering with smaller devs, maybe indie Japanese studios, and cranking out Game Pass games for Japan.
Yeah, that'd be a big deal. Yeah, sure.
That would be a better way, in all honesty. Yeah.
I mean, and I think one of the biggest leading factors to Xbox's potential success in that region is once again, price is king. You know, I mean, a wise man at Blizzard once said, "Don't you all have phones?" Right?
Yeah.
I mean, but everybody does have phones, right? And so they already have the device. It's not like Xbox is creating a new mobile device that they're trying to sell for $100 or $200. Everybody already has the device. They're just selling you a service on top of that. You know, of course, yeah, you'll probably have to buy the controller, but it's just a lot more affordable. And if they can get enough Japanese inspired third-party games and even, you know, a couple of exclusives thrown on there and give these people enough reason to give it a try, you know, on top of its value, you know, that it's already there, then you have the avenue to start winning over that audience and bringing them over to, you know, the Xbox platform.
Should note also, xCloud allows for DualShock input. That is a
well, there you go.
move. That is a
Yeah.
smart.
That's a brilliant move. It's almost a sly smile with a slap in the face kind of a move, to be honest with you, because I've actually seen people use their DualShock, which is pretty incredible when you're thinking about what they're using it for to play on xCloud. That is.
I got a question about that actually.
Yes.
I know, Luke, you have it. Have you, if you have used the DualShock controller, does it actually change the input to the sacred symbols? Because when you're playing Stadia, which I did, and it is an experience, when you're playing it on a DualShock, it'll give you the sacred symbols. If you're playing on an Xbox controller, it'll give you the A, B, X, Y, and it's all seamless.
You know what? I couldn't answer that. I've only used my Microsoft controller.
Yeah. Okay. If anyone in chat has used xCloud with a DualShock, would you guys let us know your experience? Because real talk, I'm curious about that as well. Because I don't know about you gentlemen, I love xCloud, but I've used it far less since we began C-virus isolation and social distancing. I use it far less because I have less need for it. So I'm very curious to see if anyone in chat, let us know, because that is a great question. Because if it's a cross button, I'm out. I quit.
Yeah,
I need an X button. You know,
dude, I'm so in.
Of course. If I ever see you're a Sony guy first, but you know what? Listen, this has been a great form of discussion. What I want to do is I want to move on to the next one, and this is probably the creme de la creme of the leak. And we're going to be talking about some Halo Infinite information. It says here, Halo Infinite has a huge open world you can explore, yet the story missions themselves are linear to still be able to process through the story in a more classic way. Optional exploration is going to be a big factor. It's a much more ambitious campaign this time around, not your usual 6 to 9 hours that you're used to getting in a Halo campaign. They're doing one very bold move for multiplayer, which will surprise people, but this move has the potential to bring Halo multiplayer back among the top played games on Xbox. Okay, so now there is a lot to unpack here. First of all, I am cheering this. When I read this, I read it twice. And what got me excited is the same thing that got me excited and potentially booed off my own show when it came to Gears 5. I didn't want Gears 5 to be Gears 4. And I'm not saying that's the same old Gears. I'm saying that they have a giant world that I want to know more about. And you know what? I don't read the books. I have some of the comics, and I'm going to buy the new set that's coming out. Yes. And if there's going to be a movie, hopefully it's not going to be crummy. But with that said, my experience has always been based on the games I play on my Xbox console. Gears 1 all the way through 5. What they did with 5 completely re-energized the series for me. That's my opinion. Now, some people are going to disagree, and I hear you, but that's not my opinion. With Halo, as great as Halo has been, the last couple, like for instance, Halo 4, the story, the gunplay, the character design, the point-to-point fighting was fantastic. There's nothing wrong with the story. The multiplayer was a bit of a letdown. They tried to make it too much like Call of Duty, and it failed. No problem. Coming to Halo 5, this is where I turn the tides around. For me, the multiplayer with Warzone was fantastic, but the single player campaign was for me was terribly disappointing. The fact that we only used Chief a handful of times and we were stuck and forced to use Locke, who's not a bad character, he's just not the Master Chief. And you know what? Even though he's interesting and his team was interesting, it just wasn't what I wanted from Halo. Now that we hear that they're focusing on the new engine, which they spent $500 million doing, and I think that this engine is going to be, the Slipspace engine is going to be the engine that could potentially be the main engine for a lot of Microsoft's first-party games, and I think that's great, especially if the engine is as good as we've seen so far. With this particular leak, it excites me because for purists, for Halo purists, you're going to get the story-driven, point-to-point, claustrophobic fighting in corridors that you know and love. For the people like myself who appreciate and enjoy the OG Halos, but also want a little bit more outside of just going from corridor to corridor, it's going to give people like myself who will spend 3 hours or 5 hours or even 10 hours in an area looking for every secret, every nook, every cranny. Now, I don't know if this is going to be RPG heavy, light, somewhere in the middle. Is it gonna be the same old Halo with the ability to look around and find side stories and side quests? I have no idea. But what they talked about on this particular leak has me excited. And I want to go to Luke first on this. For you personally, what are you looking for in the next Halo? Is it a combination of new and old? Is it a combination of returning to the old with some new, or vice versa? What does this leak say to you?
It says a lot of the right things, and I think it's the conversation we've had before, in that Halo needs to return to Master Chief in order to recapture the mainstream, right? You're correct. Locke was not a bad character, but he was misused. It was not a good story, and it sold us the wrong narrative. Nobody wanted to play as Locke in a Halo main franchise. I am hoping for a single-player campaign that, of course, you can have co-op, but single-player campaign with Chief that is, 10 hours long on average. I would say approximate 10 hours long. And then outside of that, you have plenty of other missions that you can go on. You can call them side quests. You can think Destiny like strikes or something of that nature, but something where you are able to utilize more of the Halo universe, capitalize on more of that story, because I do read the books. I do read the comics. I love the extensions. Halo Wars 2, Mr. Babbitt and I were playing just prior to the show. That ties in very well to Halo. Infinite needs to have a Master Chief story. It needs to have strike-like missions where you can go on and do things outside of that story and have a good time. If they have an open world, rather than it being a full-on Witcher 3 or Assassin's Creed level of open world, I would think more wide linear, something that Gears 5 started to dip its toe into, but perhaps a bit more ripe than that. That's what I want from this. It needs to recapture the magic of the single-player campaign, and there's no doubt the Halo 5 multiplayer was incredible. It needs to have that as well. So they've really got to get it right on all cylinders here, but I don't mind the open world part of this leak. I don't mind that at all. I think there's probably more to it than simply being open. Yes, probably a more layered approach there. But I also want to talk about the nature of recent trends we've seen with Warzone and a free-to-play experience with Halo. And if they can get a free-to-play experience with Halo that parlays its way into what Halo Infinite is going to be, that's a really big kicker. It doesn't have to be Battle Royale per se, but having available to all an entry-level version.
A free-to-play, basically what you're saying, to launch alongside of this.
Alongside, and that's the key. It's got to be parallel. It can't be the game's free-to-play, because that have a bad connotation. So it's got to be in conjunction with.
maybe and I'm just spitballing here. I'm tossing things out because that's all I've been watching on Twitch. But maybe like a Valorant like game or a Valorant type game is what you're kind of saying, Luke, where it's just like something where you could get the masses in and start playing and get hooked on Halo again, that type of thing.
Yes, exactly. Because as we often forget when we enter this realm of YouTube channels and podcasts and chat rooms, we forget that a lot of kids don't have the magic for Halo that we did. Right. And they've got to bring that audience in. That's, for God's sakes, that's why Xbox had 8-year-olds hold the Xbox controllers and then design around that. Same with PlayStation. So I would hope that whatever it is, we have an approachable factor for people that are not interested in Halo to get them interested in a world that is pretty darn cool. I'm surprised they didn't wipe and reboot, but they're still making books in that world. They're still making comics in that world. And as I said, Halo Wars 2 ties into that world. The fact that that's still happening suggests that they have confidence in whatever it is they're doing going forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Real quick, let me just catch up on 2 super chats, and I'll bring Zemi in on this conversation. East Texas Alex, a very good friend of the show, drops a $2 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, my friend. He says, hit that like button, everyone. Fantastic show. Thank you. Yes, I would appreciate if you are enjoying it too. Of course, hit that. And Bounty Boom shows his outstanding generosity with a $10 super chat and says this. Where are you, Mr. Bounty? It went right past me. Okay, here we go. Just got up. Sorry I missed some of your show, but I have to say Xbox is doing everything good going forward in the future. Makes me wonder, what is PlayStation doing besides coming out with a new system? Yeah, PlayStation has been a little quiet. I need some more info, but you know what? To be fair, Microsoft is doing what they need to do, whereas Sony, being still the market leader, I don't agree with the coyness. I don't agree with the passive-aggressive behavior that they have shown recently. But I have a feeling that when they're going to show us something, it is going to get that fan base excited. I'll say that. But Zemi, I want to bring you in on this because I'm not sure where your temperature gauge is talking about old versus new and new versus old. I know that Halo is one of the pillars that we're going to discuss this upcoming Thursday, and why it still remains an important cog to what makes Microsoft and the Xbox platform viable now and in the future. I love the idea of, I'm not calling it a battle royale. I'm not saying that, that they need to copy Fortnite or even PUBG or even Warzone, but they need to bring something to the table that is easily digestible to play, but not just the hardcore fan base. Like for me, I'm looking for the 100 or the 200 big team battle. That's what I want out of my Halo life, right? But some kids and some of this younger generation, they don't want that. They want to jump out of a Pelican, fly down with some smoke at their feet, and find some weapons and shoot the shit out of each other. And I get that. I think that there could be a great balance of offering the OG Halo fans something in regards to multiplayer, which the big team battle and Warzone and whatever else they're going to add. But they could also bring something new to the table that's never been done before. In regards to the single player campaign, I think that as a fan of the lore, of everything that makes Halo what it is, being able to explore and find secrets and do side quests that are outside of the main campaign, I think are important for making the game not just a 9-hour campaign. Okay, I did this campaign. Let me try and beat it on the hardest level with my buddies. And no, I want more. What for you personally, based on this leak, what excites you about what they're potentially doing with Halo?
Well, I mean, I like the idea of choice, right? I've played Halo since the very first one. Still to this day, my favorite Halo game is the first one. I don't know why. That's just typically usually how I go. It's like the very first one's always usually my favorite. I don't know. I'm weird, but I like how they're giving the player the option. Well, allegedly, speculatively, giving the player the option to to go out and explore if they want. They're making, the open world environments, just an option. It's not a requirement. The main story missions are still going to be kind of based down, linear levels, kind of how they've always been. And I really, really like that. The one thing about the whole open world environments that just kind of has me, I just don't know. The way that Gears of War did their open world environments, I did not like.
Okay.
I didn't think that there was enough reason to go out and explore. So like in a Halo Infinite open world environment, like I would love to see a lot of stage pieces, seeing Marines fighting against the Covenant, and then you want to go over there to say, well, I wonder what's happening over there, or you see a bunch of dead Marines just, I don't know, someplace, or you see things around the world, maybe a ship landing down over in the background or something. You see a lot of things in the world that actually make you want to go and explore the world. That's what I would want to see in an open world like environment. And I just thought that Gears of War was seriously lacking that. And that's what kind of has me worried about open world environments in Halo. But by looking at the trailer, the very first one, we saw the Marines shooting up flares and all that different stuff. So hopefully they have a lot of content packed into, to the open world elements of the game. But, to talk about like the multiplayer and the multiplayer is actually what probably had me the most excited is, what could they potentially add into the game to make, Halo king on Xbox again, right? And the first thing I thought about automatically was Battle Royale. And I absolutely hate the idea of them putting Battle Royale into this game because it just seems so cliche. Everybody's doing it. And it just seems like a comp-out, right? I would much rather them put in a game mode, and it could be Battle Royale, but they change it up so much that it's almost like Halo recreated a brand new game mode. Yeah.
Question for you, Zemi. Question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You said put in. Two questions here. I guess it's twofold. Think about do you when you say that, do you also mean like the free to play style with like Warzone? Do you include that as like being in there, or would you want that to launch separately? And then I think about Warzone having a separate mode, which is Plunder, which is very different than standard Battle Royale, respawns and the like, but that doesn't get the views, that doesn't get the big moments on Twitch and Twitter clips and all that jazz. Does that factor into your thought process?
I just don't like the idea of Halo just copying what all these other companies have done. I think that Halo has done enough copying, especially, like Boom said, copying what Call of Duty did, right? Like, I don't want to see Halo copy what other companies are doing. I want to see them envision what the game could be, right? Come up with new, original, innovative ideas rather than just going and saying, okay, well, Fortnite is really successful, so is this Warzone. Let's just make a BR, right? Mm-hmm. I just don't want to see them do that. Like, if they added in something, maybe it's like a mixture between what was that new game mode that they came out with in Halo 5 with all the NPCs?
Warzone.
Was that Warzone?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so we're talking about two different war zones then. If it was a mixture between that Halo Warzone with a huge map with a ton of NPCs all over, really making it feel like a huge battleground, and then you also have 100 people on each side, like, I would be okay with that. If they added in some Battle Royale gameplay elements, that would be perfectly fine as well. I just don't want to be, jumping, out the back of a Pelican, parachuting down, picking up, DMRs and BRs, and then, I just don't want it to be another Battle Royale, if that makes any sense. That just, and I know a lot of people would probably actually really like that, but for me, that just sounds horrific. And it just doesn't really sound like to me like the potential of making Halo, super popular and the #1 Xbox multiplayer game.
Great again.
Yeah, great again. Yeah, make Halo great again.
For me, when it comes to Halo, Combat Evolved is also my favorite Halo. It has defined me as a gamer. Like,
y'all are disrespecting Reach. Y'all are just disrespecting Reach.
Reach was good.
Mine is
Reach
still
was
my favorite is
fantastic.
still 3.
Reach was really good.
Yeah, Reach is fantastic. Like,
but Combat Evolved's better.
Yeah, magnum opus. But with that said, to me, when I hear open world, Luke and I were talking a little bit before the show about it. It does worry me as well. I think hindsight, looking back on Gears 5, I wasn't the biggest fan of that open world because it kind of felt empty, where little crevices led you to some people that you could fight for upgrades that you really never utilize, I don't think. So for me, I think of levels like Truth and Reconciliation. I think of those wide open worlds like the second level. Yeah, it is Truth and Reconciliation, if I'm not mistaken. But those wide levels, the snow-covered maps, where it was wide enough where you can explore, you can fight all the enemies you want, or you have this linear path you can go to, so you could kind of beeline it if you wanted to. Now, how does that reward you as a player for doing that extra shit, or stuff? Sorry. How dare you? Like whether it's leveled up shields or maybe new gun attachments or something, maybe that's the way in. But that's what I want to see. I want to return to the wide open levels of Halo 1 that I love so much. When it comes to the multiplayer, trying to predict what Twitch is gonna like is very weird.
It is definitely temperamental, to say the least.
And so when people are like, "Oh, battle royale," I'm like, no, it's really what the new hotness is and what is the most, and I'm gonna beat this drum again, most accessible. So we're taking a look at Twitch right now. The top 4 games here, top 5 actually. You got Valorant, you got Escape from Tarkov, you got Just Chatting, Fortnite, Minecraft, League of Legends. Most of those games have in common, they're dirt cheap or they are free to play. And what we can try to do, if I'm Microsoft and now I get the big tinfoil hat on, is making a mode. When I'm thinking of the Halo players, it's not Battle Royale. It is that SWAT mentality, right? That's what people like. It's like, hey, you get 3 shots and you're done, and I think that speaks to things like Valorant. I would love to see a CS:GO like experience in the Halo universe where you could tie story elements into it. Maybe you guys are just ODSTs and you're in practice, and each ODST has a ability that they could use on the map. That sounds awesome. And at the same exact time, you get to drop into every map, which makes it look super cool. And you get the kids in, you get the people that might not have the best rigs in, and everybody's being able to play together. You're getting more eyes on the Halo properties. And then what does that lead to? It's kind of like the Game Pass mentality of, well, I have this base thing and this is really cool. And even the Fortnite mentality, let me see what these other modes are. And then then they'll go out and they'll buy Game Pass, or they'll go out and they'll buy, Halo 5. So that's what I'm thinking in terms of what the next generation Halo looks like to me. Now, is it the right way? I don't know about that, but that is what it is.
Well, I'll close out this particular portion of the leak and the topic regarding Halo. I think that they need to return to the form. I agree with Luke. I think it needs to be more focused about Chief. Sorry if that bothers you, but that's what needs to happen. I like the exploration. I know Zemi's not a big fan of what they did with Gears. I happen to love Gears. I think that they didn't do enough. I want more. I want Gears to be. I don't want Gears to be open world Assassin's Creed, but I want Gears to at least give me the ability to find.
I want some reason to go and explore. Like, I could go outside, in my backyard and shove my head inside of a bush right now and just look around, right? I mean, that would be exploring. I could do that, but why would I do that, right? What is hiding in that bush? What's making me want to go, into that dark tunnel to see what's there, right? And that was my problem with Gears. Is just like there wasn't enough reason that the game was giving me as a player to go explore, besides just the fact that I could go explore.
I mean, I agree. I mean, like I said, I see what you're saying. For me, I just wanted to know more about the world. I wanted to know there was more than just a point-to-point campaign. It gave me the choice, and I think that really comes to the head of this particular topic is choice, right? You as the player, you want to maybe you just want to run through the 12 or 15 or 20-hour story and go from A to Z, and you're okay with that. If that's your bag, I'm not going to argue with it. But me, I want the ability to look around the corner. I want to be able to find a hidden mission. I'm hoping that I hope that they open up the ability to do side quests where it's not, it's adjacent to the main story, but might have something important to do. You might find an old Spartan that that needs help, or whatever throws whatever your analogy you want in there. I think the ability to expand the universe is potentially there if done correctly. But what I want to do is I just want to finish, and I'm gonna group everything into the last topic because there's not a lot left. And then what I'll do is I'll go to you individually, and you whatever you want to tackle, you can go ahead and tackle. The last part of this leak says this: Obsidian, OMG Obsidian. Now we know Obsidian is currently working on a Pillars of Eternity extension, first person, Elder Scrolls type of experience. It's a AAA game that's exclusive to Microsoft. We know that. It's going to be big. I believe Phil Spencer has already seen it. He's already mentioned that he saw it. He didn't say what he saw, but needless to say, it's going to be amazing. Then the leak continues with Forza Motorsport gets a complete reboot. Internal retooling of the Forza tech happened during the last few years, already in engine position to be big for the next generation. Further reboots coming, just a tease of what's to come, and the next 2 months are going to be fire. Phil is not holding back. So again, not a lot of information. It's really just closing out this particular leak, but there are some nuggets there to whet your appetite before the Flame Mignon comes out. And I'll start with Luke. Luke, those last 4 points all have value. One, we know the reboots are coming. And I like that they're going to now. What reboots are we talking about? Is it Perfect Dark? Do we believe that's one of them? Are they bringing back Killer Instinct 2? Are they doing a proper release? Are they going to bring back Crimson Skies in some way? Is Conquer coming back? We don't know what reboots they're talking about, but they do have a wealth of IPs that they could bring back, and if done correctly, could become major pillars. If Joanna Dark is done the same way, a new character like for instance, Aloy was done for Horizon Zero Dawn, they could make her extremely relevant. As a matter of fact, on last night's Primetime Gaming, we talked about that, where this generation is missing, that Splinter Cell-esque type of game. And we know that, Gallagher is leading the team. And what is he known for? He's known for doing Tomb Raider. And if he can bring that same level of commitment to some character like a Joanna Dark, who has a tremendous background, even though a lot of people don't know who she is, they could reinvent the wheel with Perfect Dark and make it a spy thriller, or even an alien invasion / spy thriller, whatever you want to reboot this. Forza, like I said, what could you say? Forza Motorsport 8 is going to be epic, but I like the fact that it's not just going to be just another Forza. I think they need to change. I don't want Forza Motorsport to become Horizon. I don't want that, because Horizon is Horizon, but I want it to be more accessible, and I think they have the potential to do that. And of course, it finishes off with the next 2 months are going to be fire. Phil is not holding back. That excites me, and that falls in line to what Phil Spencer has been doing since December 12th. 2019. So what in these last 4 points excite you as an Xbox gamer?
I like the reboot idea, because there's so many different genres and so many different titles that you could tackle there. You could go first party or Xbox games or Xbox exclusives and look at like something like Jade Empire or Crimson Skies. I think there'd be a lot of fanfare for those two games, and there's not a lot of games like Crimson Skies openly available on console platforms. That might be a big deal. I mean, they could also go do Blinks or Conquer, but I don't know that they necessarily need those games. I don't think those are really worth their time based on what we know right now. But then, like, what if they went outside of their own realm and they rebooted Dino Crisis as an exclusive, or they Lost Odyssey got a sequel, Splinter Cell got rebooted full on, and they bought out exclusive rights there? Not likely, but the idea that they are willing to reboot multiple titles, multiple brands is exciting to me. Perfect Dark is a great example of one that could thrive or crash and fail. Is it going to take the Quantum Break type approach where everything's good, but it just doesn't catch on until because of a faux pas there? Like, where are we going to land there? I'm excited by Obsidian doing more, no doubt about it. I want to see more than just Grounded, which admittedly I'm coming around on, even though I'm not thrilled about it. And that's a smaller portion of their team. Outer Worlds is a great game. They can clearly do more. What do they do with funding? But I'm really excited to see just what new games are being revitalized and reimagined. That to me is the coolest thing, to compare Resident Evil 2 to the reboot. That's really fun to look and do those comparisons. So, I mean, there's so much to unpack with that, but I'm stoked by the idea of more reboots coming along with newer tech.
Yeah, no, me too. I absolutely agree. Zemi Games, let's get you in on this particular last part of the topic before we close out today's outstanding, nearly 2-hour show where we saw almost 400 people, which is awesome.
That's cool. Just forget about me. That's fine.
No, you don't worry. You're coming next, brother. Don't worry. We certainly will never forget about you. Zemi Games, what are on these last 4 points excite you for the Xbox brand and the potential of these 2 digital events?
I mean, Obsidian for sure, right? I love Obsidian. I've been a fan of their work for a very, very long time. And the idea that they're making another RPG that's going to be, kind of somewhat Skyrim-y, has me just absolutely freaking excited. I really wish that after that they would also do like an Alpha Protocol like reboot or like a remake of Alpha Protocol. You hear me talking about that all the time. I love that spy RPG game. I don't know why. I just love it. And then for like other future reboots, like ever since we had that one topic where we were talking about the Perfect Dark reboot and how they could possibly, make it almost like a Splinter Cell game and all this different stuff. Like I've been like super, super into that idea. So I think that would be amazing. And then I have to say, I'm actually a little bit scared about the whole Forza reboot thing. It kind of scares me because Boom, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I might have made a statement in the past saying that I thought for sure that the next Forza game was going to be Forza Motorsports 8, and if it wasn't, then I'd be willing to shave off my beard. and so I'm a little bit worried about that. Like I do not want I need this next one to be Forza Motorsports 8. After that, they can do whatever they want, but this next one has to be Motorsports 8. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a little bit depressed. But overall, I'm really excited about this leak. I don't know how much is going to be true. Hopefully, it all is true besides the Forza part. But I'm just really excited, for the next few months to see all the news that we see from Xbox in May and June. And then, just later on this year, whenever I finally get my hands on that new Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, I just can't wait. Super excited for it. There's just so much to be excited for with gaming this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And closing it out, I know that Mr. Bad Bitch, you might have a lot to say regarding this. Obviously, they talked about Forza. They talked about quite a few things, and again, it's not a lot of information in this last part of the supposed leak, but needless to say, enough to get people excited. Obviously, anything from Obsidian at this point is, I hate to say it, I mean, I know a lot of people down on Grounded, but not every game is for every gamer, and that's going to attract to a fan base that they normally wouldn't have, and that is the kids. Mm-hmm. And it could potentially be as big as Minecraft, or it could be a complete flop. Who the hell knows? Mm-hmm. But that's a big AAA game from Obsidian, who is the masters of RPGs, excites me.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that excites me the most is what Obsidian's doing.
Right.
I'll say this till the day I die, and that is Obsidian in Exile. Ninja Theory. These are 3 really super talented devs that they got. These are the 3 teams that excite me the most out of all the pickups that Microsoft has made. So seeing Microsoft kind of do their own thing, they understand that their base does like Elder Scrolls like games.
Right.
Seeing Obsidian with Outer Worlds shows that they definitely have something here. And also when they have a Path of Exile as well, right? Is that the one I'm thinking? No, Pillars of Eternity. My apologies.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And having it going, okay, you know what? We're going to change the pace here, and we're going to make it, a deep RPG, probably deeper than what you're going to get with an Elder Scrolls game, but have that first person view. And we've already seen Obsidian can do it on par or better than what Bethesda has been doing recently. So
yes, absolutely.
That has me super excited. When it comes to the Forza stuff, I can't tell you. Like, I just hope all the cars have 4 wheels, but that's about it.
You're not looking for any hovercraft type vehicles. What you're saying?
I mean, I don't know. Do those exist? If so, I got a DeLorean for you guys. Put it in the game, cowards. Anyway, but yeah, that's the thing that has me super excited here, and to see hopefully them go back to the well, and they have IP everywhere. Just Rare is the best example of, like, there are old-timey, platformers that people love. You can have second-party studios make them. You can have first-person shooters that are different than Halo, like a Perfect Dark in there as well. You can fill your portfolio with reboots, and I also hope with original thought as well. I think what Microsoft's making at the end of the day, it's kind of what Matt Booty said. They're making experiences so that, they want to make sure that every quarter they have an experience. It might not be it might not be a Halo. It might not be a Forza. It might not be as big as a Gears, but there is something there to sell you, not on the box, but on Game Pass. And so that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. All these studios now that Microsoft has acquired, seeing them work out the kinks and seeing them start to make IP and filling out that Game Pass portfolio.
Well, you know what it is also, to your point, being able to have a steady flow of games, whether they be reboots, fan favorites or new IPs, having a steady flow is going to be important. Of course, for Game Pass to sell the subscription to get people in that ecosystem. So obviously having new games is going to be important, but also having a steady flow of games is going to be big for the brand. And offering different experiences that go from single A and indie all the way up to the big AAA bangers and the big budgeted games. I think this is where Microsoft is going to do very well, at least in my opinion. But I'll say this went a lot better because when you put a show like this together where you're reading a leak as big as this, you're not sure how it's going to be broken down. And I got to be honest with you, you guys completely knocked it out of the park. I posed the questions, you answered them in unbelievable ways. This could not have gone any better. In my opinion, we almost filled 2 hours of a leak that just popped up yesterday, completely moving a show that I wrote originally to Thursday. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen on Thursday. But this show has been absolutely amazing. We had almost 400 people live in the chat, which is a big deal. Of course, like I said in the opening of today's show, you 3 gentlemen, I enjoy working with you. I think that you really bring a lot to the table. So it's great to have you on today's show. So let's get to the outros. And Zemi, we'll start with you, my brother. Obviously, you still have a YouTube channel and you put a lot of content on there. And I will say it again, I'm very proud of you. You've been more active on Twitter than ever. And that's great to see, especially when you're doing some cooking and baking some pies, putting it up there for the people to drool over. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out and subscribe to your outstanding YouTube channel.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for setting up the show as you always do, man. It's always a pleasure coming on here every week and talking Xbox with you guys. I absolutely love it. It's the highlight of my week, honestly. I'm always just excited to, come on this show. If you guys want to, definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's Zimmy Games. I do a bunch of gaming content, gaming news, reviews, tutorials, some Let's Plays here and there. So definitely check out that YouTube channel if, watching gaming content is your thing. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zimmy Games. I've actually kind of been slacking. I'm not gonna lie. I've been slacking. I haven't been posting as much food pictures here recently, but hopefully I'll get back into that soon. But my DMs are also always open, and I always look forward to any community members sending me messages. Maybe you heard something on the show today that I said that you liked, or maybe I said something that you disagreed with. Always feel free to send me a message. I always love interacting with the community, and that's a great way of doing that. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Boom.
Thanks for being here. Mr. Badbit, let's get you on out of here. First of all, thanks for being here as always. Super, super appreciate the honesty and the thought-provoking conversation that you bring to the table. You have a lot going on. You have your own show, which is very popular. Your channel is moving and getting subs by the day, which is great to see. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check you out on YouTube and subscribe to your channel.
So you can find me over at Twitter at Mr. MR Badbit, all one word. I tweet pictures and sometimes something funny. I also have a YouTube channel called Badbit Games where we talk about all things games, news, reviews, unboxings, and it's also a home to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest all things PlayStation. Find that there on YouTube. You can find that there on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, wherever you get your RSS feed, you can find us there. There you go. That's all my plugs, I think.
Well, listen, it's great to have you on, and certainly get over there and check out his content. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Last and in no way least, Luke, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to be here. It is great to have you on a weekly basis. You do bring a significant amount of Xbox knowledge to the table. And like I said, your show that you can find on just about any streaming platform is really more eyes and ears got to get on it, because you do a great job. And what you do, especially when you're on there by yourself, is to be commended, because it's not easy doing a solo podcast. Trust me, I know. I've tried, and trying to, engage and keep the people engaged, it is very difficult. And you find a way to do it in a way that's fantastic. But I want to say that it's your interviews that you've been very fortunate enough to get, is really where you make your money, so to speak, on getting more views. So do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your outstanding and growing podcast.
Oh, thank you for the kind words, man. I really appreciate it. I host a weekly podcast called the Xbox Expansion Pass, where I work hard to discuss the news and the goings-on in our gamerverse, but in particular, how it pertains to Xbox. How does the DualSense being announced impact Xbox? I like to have those conversations. And then, I often do have guests on from expanding our knowledge in the gamerverse, as it were. Andrew Renee from What's Good was recently on, talking about being a host in the gaming industry and a businesswoman in the gaming industry, as well as Steven Spawn from Able Gamers. He's the COO there, what it means for that to exist, as well as Rebecca Valentine from gamesindustry.biz, just trying to diversify our perspective on the gaming industry. You can find that show on any podcast service. It's the Xbox Expansion Pass. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost, and it means the world when you guys check it out.
Yes, well, hopefully we'll get you some more subs to your incredible show. And of course, I want to thank the near 400 people that came out today. It's a big deal for me to have an audience. It's still, even saying it out loud is very humbling to know that people enjoy the content, and I'm glad that you are having fun with it. Of course, I want to thank the outstanding and unbelievable generosity that continues to come in on the shows that I do. The super chats are extremely generous, and they are truly and honestly, I'm very thankful to get them. So thank you so much for that. And of course, the chat, a little bit more busy than I'd like. A few people in here, listen, folks, I'm not calling anybody out, and you're entitled to your opinion, but the console war stuff, man, is just old. Both consoles are going to be great. You can like your brand and not shit on someone else's. I mean, and I'm not calling anybody out, but you guys and gals know who you are. If you're coming to the show to just poke fun, I mean, it's a little boring. No one's going to take you serious. And I just come here, hang out, have some fun. No matter what console you flag you fly, everyone's welcome. But Come on, dudes. I mean, this is you're supposed to be having some fun, and in a world that's as miserable it is right now, maybe a little goodness will go a long way. That's all I'm saying. But you know what?
They're just warning you because those PlayStation 5s are set to blow.
Yeah,
All
well,
right?
hopefully not. Hopefully,
Well,
that's
listen, someone on Twitter said it, and it has to be true.
well,
Right.
that's
Right.
true. What you hear on the internet is always true.
Everything.
Without
I've
facts.
seen Sasquatch so many times.
But you know what? I'll close out with something that my dad taught me when I was a kid. I think it's more important now than ever, and it's really thought-provoking. And whether it gets corny or not, it's something that I grew up with. It made me a better police officer, and it made me a better human being as a whole. Treat people how you want to be treated, and it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you are going to have an awesome day. Take care, everyone, and we will see you this Thursday on the new and regular edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Peace and love. And, of course, a heed to staying home until this quarantine is done. Take care, everybody.